Yo, okay, guys, I just got like a crazy revelation, right now, like, just in prayer. Usually I do my prayer like while I'm in the bathtub, just sit with my eyes closed and, just listening to what the Holy Spirit is saying. And right now, actually, if the audio is bad, that's actually because I'm in the bath right now. And I was just looking at like the two tabs, like the warm tab and the cold tab. And I just saw like there's one tab that's consistently leaking, you know, and then there's another tab which is leaking as well, but not as consistently. So you would just hear the whole time, doop, 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 and then out of nowhere, doop, 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 doop. And I feel like that's something like that's the Holy Spirit like made me realize that. I feel like he drew my attention to these two tabs. um it's the cold tab and the warm tab. So the cold tab is consistently moving, and the warm tab is, slowly going. And I feel like the bath like like, let's put it like this, right? Let's say the tabs, right? It's the amount of times that you seek God, like the Spirit, and then the amount of times that you seek to pleasure or seek to please the Spirit, and the amount of times that you seek to please the flesh. And I feel like the cold tab being consistently going, you know, I feel like that's how we should be seeking the Spirit, how we should be seeking to please God, how we should be seeking to please our spirit, and gratify our spirit. And the warm tab is just how life is, how we actually tend to just sometimes just randomly please the flesh. And that's how it should be. You know, we should be seeking the spirit, to please the spirit more consistently than we seek to please the flesh. Because as humans, at the end of the day, two leaking taps is eventually going to fill the bathtub, and that bathtub is your life. And eventually you're going to have to measure with a thermometer the the temperature of the water in the bathtub, you know. And that's God. At the end of the day, it's going to be him that's going to be testing your life. He's going to be the one who's saying it's either you're hot or you're cold, you know. And I feel like in the life that we're living now, we should let our spiritual tap leak way more than our fleshly tap. You know, I'm not saying it's right to let the fleshly tap leak at all. If possible, that shouldn't even leak. But because we are humans, it's going to leak. But it's either you feed the spiritual tap more and you keep it more open and let it leak way more than your physical tap, like the fleshly tap. So that at the end of the day, when God t- um, takes the temperature of your life and tests your life, he would see that the water is more cold than hot, meaning you deserve to go more to heaven, you know, than hell, because hell is hot. Or it could be vice versa. Maybe the water could be hot and you could be going to heaven. Like, you can interpret it either way, but either way, it's like the consistent tap, that's the spiritual tap. That's dropping the whole time, it's leaking the whole time. And then the one that's not so consistent, it's the fleshly one. That's how our lives should be. And at the end of the day, when the bathtub is full and we reach the end of our life and that thermometer comes into the water, we need to be able to say, hey, it's either my life is hot, with a little bit of cold, but it's like that little bit of cold like doesn't even matter, because you can literally just say this is hot, or it's cold with a little bit of warmth, but that warmth doesn't really mean anything. So it's either you feed your flesh or you feed the spirit. You can't go, you can't be lukewarm. One needs to be more consistent. Just like, listen to this. the warm tab just dropped right now, and you couldn't even hear it. You couldn't even hear it, like, you know, drop the water. And that's how it should be. That's how our lives should be. We should be seeking the spiritual so much that to the point where literally the our us just like when we do mess up, if we even ever do mess up, that shouldn't even bother us. That shouldn't even make an effect on us. And this actually links into a revelation that I had a while ago. Like I saw a picture of a rich man, and he was standing on a yacht, and he had like a glass in his hand, a glass of like just a glass of what do you call this? Just liquid, anything like it could be juice, wine, whatever it wants to be, you know. And he poured the water into the water, like he poured the water, like he was standing at the side of the yacht, and he poured the water into the or like the content of the cup of the glass. He poured it out into the ocean, and it didn't even make a splash at all. And then there was a homeless guy, or like a not so rich guy, maybe average or poor guy, who was literally, he wasn't even on a yacht, he wasn't even on a boat, he was just standing on the water and having like kind of like a jug full of water. And when he poured that water into the ocean, it actually made like a big splash. And that's how it should be. We should be splashing our lives with, like, we should be splashing like the water, like, of our life with spiritual things. You know what I mean? We should be, you know, th- we should be filling our bathtub more with spiritual things, with spiritual water, like with jugs and jugs and jugs of spiritual water, instead of other way around, filling our lives with jugs and jugs and jugs of fleshly water, so that we can be to the point of where we literally, if even if we do by accident spill a glass of flesh into the bathtub, it's not even gonna make a splash, because the spiritual water is already so much, like it's so heavy, even to that point. It's so heavy that the flesh literally, it doesn't even make a sound when it drops. It doesn't even affect the water. Not even a riffle is made in that water. That's how our lives should be. I hope this could like encourage someone here. And yeah, peace, guys.